friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, Independent Stamping Up Demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you this little card kit that is showcasing the new in colors for the 2019-2020 Stampin' Up Annual Catalog. Went live on June 4th, and now you can order these beautiful colors. So the colors we're going to be showcasing on here are Seaside Spray, Rococo Rose, Purple Posy, Pretty Peacock, and Terracotta Tile. They are almost like the opposite of our in colors that returned from last year, the 18 to 20 ones that were very bold and bright. These are more subtle and romantic and soft, and I'm really starting to fall in love with them. So I decided to use them all on this project here, and I used a new stamp set that we have coming also, and it's called A Little Lace. Now this comes bundled with that really beautiful big covers the whole front of a card detailed lace die that is gorgeous. I'll be showcasing that here soon. I made a card with it the other day. It was beautiful. But this is the stamp set that goes with it, and I love this image right here. Very fine line, but very whimsical and doodly. So I'm using the little lace, and then as you can see, I paired it with a butterfly from our Butterfly Gala stamp set. And then I used some of the greetings from our Itty Bitty Greetings. Wow, there's a lot in there. This took over the place of teeny tiny wishes that we had, and I know a lot of you guys love. And so we have Itty Bitty Greetings that we're going to be using, and we're also going to be using these awesome new stitched nested labels dies. So you'll see here we're using a different size one, but let's take a look at the cards here. So we've got the 5 cards in the 5 different colors, and what I did was I just did a different color, and I know that black is a great neutral to go with anything. And as you can see, the black went with every single color, and then I just scattered the butterflies in different spaces. Oh, and maybe this one has one here because there might be a smudge under it. I'm not telling, but I was able to just put the sentiment there on the top of that card just to give it a different look. So let's just do one card, and then I'm going to show you how to put together this really neat card box that you can use, oh my gosh, for anything, and it has the 5 envelopes in it too. So these are pretty puffy cards because I have dimensionals under, and I have these really awesome in color faceted dots. So it's a little bulky, and it fits 5. So you can imagine it'll fit a lot more without the bulk on there. And so let's just get started here, and let's just make a sample card. We're going to set these pieces aside for right now. And what I did is I just took a piece of 3 by 3.5 Whisper White. Now remember that you can always find the measurements for the card and the different supplies that I've used on my blog post for this card. Just look in the search bar underneath my picture on the right side, and you will see where you can pop in either the name of the stamp set, which would be A Little Lace. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, A Little Lace. Or you can put in the type of card, like if I made it into a card box, or I had a certain technique I used. So we're going to open up the Seaside Spray, and we're going to ink up our image here. So we're just going to give a nice coverage there. Take a peek to make sure we didn't catch any edges. And then, let's just take out a sample card here so that we can see what we're doing here. So this is the card we're going to make, and so I just centered it right on my Whisper White. Gave a nice, I haven't even taken the time to put my labels on yet. I've just been scurrying around making things. There we go. Now, if I would have had this previously when I made these cards, I had it in my Stamparatus, but I just took it off to do the inside of the card. So I have a little bit of a flaw right here, but guess what's going to go right there? Yes, that's probably where the butterfly is going. So while we have that stamp out, let's go ahead and do the inside of our card here. And this is just your portrait style card, and it is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5 1/2. And then the inside of the card has 4 inches by 5 1/4. And what we're going to do is grab a little scratch here. Got a little mess started here. So we're just going to go ahead and ink up that. And like I said, if you're doing this because it is a detailed die, and if you might need to stamp it again, I had it in the Stamparatus, which I do with everything, but I had taken it out of the Stamparatus when I did all the corners, so that's why I don't have it in there. So let's just say, please. There, we got a perfect image there. Okay, so now we're going to put that Seaside spray inside. Let's go ahead and put it on inside our card, okay? And you'll see that I have my snail fully replenished. And I'm just putting my snail in the corners, not the whole way across here, because it's really not necessary. And you won't have any ridges or bumps when you're writing the message. So I just get a nice equal border. When you cut your paper, if I find that my paper isn't exactly giving an 1/8 of an inch the whole way around, I do make sure I have an 1/8 of an inch here, here, and here. And sometimes it doesn't match up here, but that's okay because your eye sees the sides and the bottom. And as long as those are all the same, that's what really counts. Okay, so now that's our card there. We're going to set aside our little scratch paper. And since this was 3 by 3 1/2, my black is going to be just 3 3/4 by 3 1/4. So 3 1/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, and then I'm just going to mount that onto our black. And what I did was just added an 1/8 of an inch on all the sides, which really equates to a 1/4 inch. So then we're just going to put that centered on our black. There we go. And then what I did there is I popped it up with some dimensionals that I have right over here. And I just stuck some in the corner. And then I'm going to throw, I think I'm just going to throw one right down the middle there. Okay. So then we'll just take off our little guys here. Actually ran the sweeper here last night, so I'm going to try not to just use my floor as my garbage can, so we're going to tidy that up there. Okay, so then we are going to put our card together by putting this centered on our Seaside spray card base. There we go. And see how that black really gives a nice pop to the card. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the sentiment here. And what I did was I just picked out of the Itty Bitty Greetings, Fabulous at Any Age. And you can see I have this cute little detail here. And what I did is I used those stitched nested dies. Okay, I keep getting those words. I want to make sure I'm absolutely saying it. Stitched, nested labels. Stitched, nested labels. Say that again. Stitched, nested labels. So what I did is I took the smallest one and I just snipped it. Where's those snips? There they are underneath a piece of paper there. And what I did is I just snipped it right in the middle. Boom. And then I just put on these corners here, not the corners, actually the edges. I put some snail, and then I just put the same amount of black showing on each side. And see, I really like the look of that. Just gave a little more detail to the card too. When I first did it, I just put the white on there and it just didn't have enough wow to it. So there we go. And then I went ahead and popped that up with dimensionals as well. So I'm going to put a dimensional right on the black part, on the black part there, and I'm going to throw one right in the middle. And then we'll just take those backs off again. And we're just going to put that right at the bottom of the card. Okay, and then like I said, we have these beautiful faceted dots in all the new in colors. I love those, and that actually was the clincher for me of making this card, because I could stick a nice big one right in here, and then I stuck the smallest one, the smallest of the ones in this one, so that if I would have put the medium-sized one in there, if I would have put this medium-sized one, it would have totally covered up that area. But here, since we had a white here, I wanted some white there, so I used the biggest one and the smallest one. And then, like I said, because I have a little flaw here, I'm going to somehow get my butterfly in there to cover that up a little bit, actually, and it won't matter if I cover up actually that faceted dot. So what I did is I just went ahead and I stamped, oh, here we go. Where did I put that? Oh, you would just ink up your butterfly stamp with your Memento Black, which is way under here. And I just took and I inked up and I'm gonna go ahead and ink up the big one and the small one. Get a nice impression there. Nope, that did not work well enough for me. So, but it's the middle of the video, so we're just gonna leave it go like that. Okay, so what we would do is then put our butterfly duet punch in, and we will just line up the little guy and the big guy and pop it out. There we go. And in the garbage with you. We're going to use this big one on the outside of the card. Remember here, and I think we can cover up that flaw there also with a faceted dot. So we're going to use that big one on the outside of the card, and then this one is for the little guy here. So we're going to stick a mini dimensional on that. And if you can't find your, oh, there's a paper piercer right there. So I'm just going to pop off one of these mini dimensionals, which is perfect for right in the middle of the back of that little black butterfly. Now let's see how we can kind of disguise. See? Kind of just popped them right in there, and then I'm going to stick a black faceted dot, and those are from our faceted dots that are leaving us from the, oh, I can't remember, share what you love. I can't remember what, but we had some little black ones, but we also had the black rhinestones, so if you still have those. So what I did is I just popped, solved my little issue there by popping that butterfly right there. Now, that wouldn't have been my first choice, but there we go. So that's just how your card is made. And then you just make each of your cards out of the other colors, the Pretty Peacock and the Rococo Rose and the Terracotta Tile and the Purple Posy, and then you've got all of your cards done. Now, then you need something pretty to put them into. So this is a real simple box, and once again, I used basic black. So I used basic black as the card base, because then I could put all of these colors on the front. So the card base is 6 inches. No, that isn't. It's 6 inches by 10 1/4. So 10 1/4 by 6 inches. And we're going to score it at 4 1/2 and 5 5/8. And again, these measurements will be on the blog post for this card. So that's going to end up becoming the kind of like the book jacket of our box, okay? So that's going to be that book jacket there. So 10 1/4 by 6, score at 4 1/2 and 5 5/8. The reason why we have to have this 5 and 5 over to 5 5/8 and not just 4 1/2 to 5 1/2, because you need a little bit of wiggle room, because the box itself, when you close it on, it won't close properly if you don't give it just a little bit of wiggle room. So that's why that measurement's a little funny, like 5 5/8. Why isn't it 5 1/2? Well, that's why we need to do that. So we're going to set that aside right now, and we are going to make the front of this card. And I'm again going to pull back our scratch paper here, and we're going to take a piece of Whisper White. And what I did is I just looked at the measurement for this front here, and then I just brought it down so that I had an equal border around it. So that brought me to 5 3/4 and 4 1/4. So that's gives me a nice, pretty black border on there. So you're going to go by 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. And then what I did with that, and then I also, on the inside of this card, I wanted to have a piece in here to showcase the colors. And that one was 2 1/2 by 4 1/4, and it's going to fit right on there. But we need to get that stamped there. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to get my Stampin' Chamois, because we're going to be changing up our inks here. Okay, so we want to, let's just go ahead, since we have our Seaside Spray open, let's just ink up with Seaside Spray. Okay, and we're just going to be looking at the card this way, and we're just going to put that color on here. And we're just going to scatter it about, but just making sure that we end up getting to see all the colors on the card. We've got our blue. Okay, so then we're going to take our chamois, and I love this for getting any kind of stray lint off of my stamp too. So the next one we're going to do is the Rococo Rose. So we're going to open up our Rococo Rose, and we're going to ink up that image again from the stamp set A Little Lace. And we just want to get some of that Rococo Rose up here. So we'll just put that right up in the corner. Now we've got another color on there. So then we're going to take our Stampin' Chamois, our Simply Chamois, and we're going to rinse and clean that off. Always make sure if you're not sure about if it's clean, make sure you do it again. I tell the girls at class, even if you see somebody beside you, clean the stamp, clean it again yourself, and then you'll be for sure. Now we're going to use the Purple Posy, and we're going to open that one up too. And we're going to ink up. It's hard to see these light colors on. And so we're going to put that one, we're going to pop that in here. There we go, the pretty Purple Posy. I asked my daughter how she liked the new ink colors, and she said this was the one she did not like very much. She said, I don't like that purple one. And I said, really? I really like that one. It kind of reminds me of that lovely lilac we used to have. I just thought it was a beautiful purple. So there we go. So we've got the lovely lilac. Now we have two more colors we need to get on here. We need the Terracotta Tile and the Pretty Peacock. So let's open up, the Terracotta Tile. We've cleaned this off, right? Didn't we? I'm not sure. I better try to do it again. Okay, so there we go, Terracotta Tile. And this is a nice lighter than Cajun, but more like dustier than Calypso Coral. So we want to get, let's put it down. Let me see, this is the, I'm gonna put it right there. Kind of tricky when you want to make sure you see all the colors there. So there is Terracotta Tile, and it definitely dries lighter than when it first stamps. And the Terracotta Tile and the Rococo Rose look the same when they're wet until they start drying. So the color that we're now going to get here is our Peacock, Pretty Peacock. Kind of like an island indigo with some tranquil tide mixed in. So we're going to get that inked up there, the Pretty Peacock. And we're going to actually put some Pretty Peacock here on this corner. And because he's a special color, I'm going to put him on twice. And here we go. We're going to stick that on this corner here too. Okay. Darn. Oh well, we're making a video. We just can't stop. All right, and so then there's kind of a little bit down here. So I think I might add some Seaside spray down there. So let's just get that cleaned off there, and let's grab the Seaside spray and ink it up, and just maybe put a little bit down here in that corner. If I had a marker, I could fill that in. I know I could, but don't have the markers yet. Okay, so there is the front of the card that's going to go onto our box front here. And believe me, I would totally restamp that, but we're not going to. I'm just going to go with it. And then whenever I get my markers, I'll color it in. So that will go on the front of our card, that little book jacket. And then just get an equal amount of black showing around. Ooh. And then I'll just fill that in later. Okay, so there is our book jacket part done. Now we need to get this little box that's on the inside. And that is simply another piece of basic black. And this piece of base, oh, you know what? We need to stamp that little piece that goes inside on that box. Okay, and I'm actually going to erase this because I have a little bit of a jagged edge on that one piece of paper, and guess what? We're using that side instead. And you know what? I am going to take my paper towels that are down here and wipe my paws off. Okay, there we go. So we are going to use this edge. Okay, so what we need to do is ink up our, we're going to clean off our, and we're going to get some color on there. Let's just get a little bit of this. On here. One color. Okay. Clean it off. And then get our other color, number 2 color, Purple Posy. And let's just maybe put it there. Remember, we're trying to get all the colors on there in one way or another. There we go. And let's try our terracotta tile. Whoop. And let's stick that little tail down in there. Terracotta tile. Okay. And clean it off again. And Rococo Rose. Up in the corner there. And like I said, they look almost the same when they are wet, but then they dry differently. Use my chamois again. And what color are we missing, kids? Come on, yell it out. Ah, Seaside Spray. Okay. And then we got to really work hard on getting this color in here. Ooh, we might have to do a tail. You can actually see them all. They're all on there. They all have their place. Okay. So there we go. Get that out of the way. So that's going to go on our box on the inside. On the inside of the box. So let's make our box. Get all these ink pads closed, because you know what happens whenever ink pads are open. Accidents happen. And they happen on videos as well. So please close your ink pads to avoid any harm to your surrounding pieces of craft paper and such. Okay, so now we need to make this box. This box is made also of basic black, and it is 3 3/4 by 11. So 3 3/4 by 11, and then on the 3 3/4 side, I scored it 1 inch. 1 inch, so I had a 1 inch that's going to end up becoming the bottom of the box. Then when you put it into your Stampin' trimmer or into your scoring tool, you're going to score it at 2 1/4, 3 1/4, 7 3/4, and 8 3/4. So you just put it into your scoring tool. Just grab mine, just so you can see. You would just stick it into your scoring tool like that. And then you would just score it at 2 1/4, 3 1/4, 7 3/4, 8 3/4. And then you would just turn it on the 3 3/4 inch side and just score 1 inch in from 3 3/4, or you can turn it this way and just score it at 1 inch there. Okay, so that would be your box. Now, to get the box put together, you have these 2 small squares down here that I have marked with a white gel pen. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut up on these little slits here. Cut up on these little slits, because we need to be able to put a box together. Okay, and remember, these measurements will be wrote down, because I know whenever you're watching a video and you try to jot things down, but that way you can look at the blog post there. So then I'm just kind of scoring on all of the edges, and you'll see that the box is going to go together so it has a nice clean edge here. Like, you don't want to put it together like that with this edge showing, so you want to hide that. Okay, and so you actually, when you're making this card, if you do have a white gel pen, then you'll know I want to hide those in there. So what we're going to do is use tear tape to hide those. So what we're going to do is take that X there, and we're going to put this smaller section, and we're going to adhere this here, and then we're going to adhere it to here. So that would mean that we're going to put tear tape on the place where we drew the X. Boy, that pretty peacock really gets all over you. So we're going to put it on there, and we're going to put on this tab. Another little piece of tear and tape. Okay, and then I'm just going to use my paper piercer. The paper piercer is retiring, so thank goodness we have that new Take Your Pick tool, which is awesome, and now it's going to have a brush attachment to it. So what you're going to do then is just make a nice square corner there. See? And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Yeah, I really found that, you know, either using a white gel pen or a piece of chalk, if you have the old chalk pens or something, just really makes you realize you need to cover up that. And then I do the same thing on this side. I make that nice square. And then this box is going to go like this. Now you can see they just meet each other. Okay, they don't overlap. They just meet each other. So that means these 2 pieces have to get adhered to here. So what I'm going to do is it's going to go on the inside here. So I'm going to put the tear and tape on the, kind of hard to get in there. I hope you can see there. Put the tear tape right on the bottom here. There we go. Okie doke. And get my handy dandy paper piercer. Get that adhesive off that tear tape. Okay. And then I'm just going to fold these together. See that? Fold it together. And I'm going to fold this down so it creates that box. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is run over to my other desk where my Scotch tape is, and I'm just going to go ahead and put, because like I said, these just meet each other, and just put a little piece of tape there. Now this is going to be adhered to the bottom of our book, okay? And as you can see, it has a nice clean edge because the edge closes here and we don't have those tabs there. So you have a nice clean edge the whole way around. Now, you can adhere the back portion to the bottom here, and you can also put adhesive here. Now, on here, it adhered pretty nicely. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just leave it there. So I think what we're going to do on this card is we are just going to, and I'm going to go ahead and use glue for here because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. I say I'm going to use glue, but I need to get it out of here. There we go. So I'm putting nice amount of glue on here. And we'll put that aside there. Got a little bit on that side. Okay, and then because I used glue, I have a little bit of wiggle room there. And you just line it up flush with the bottom edge right there. And then you could just take and put your hand in there and get that nice and adhered there. And then we're just going to pop this onto the inside there, and then that carries that nice detail in from the outside of the card. And it also gives you a peek into, and you can make this box taller if you'd like, if you'd like to make it taller, but I actually made mine that way because all of the fronts of my cards all were centered the same way, so that meant the big bauble on the flower was going to be in the same place. So I didn't want this to be hitting that, so I just put it a little bit under there. So that is the inside of the card, and like I said, you can put 5 envelopes in there and 5 cards fit in there nicely. And here, I love these sayings. Hope you're feeling better, with gratitude. May God bless and keep you. Best wishes from all of us, and fabulous at any age. And then on this one, I put, hey friend. So there's a lot of different sentiments that you could put in there. And then you just pop those cards into the box, close the box, and then we're going to decorate the outside. And I carried that same theme using these stitched nesting labels dies. And I found this sentiment that, if you will remember, it's in the stamp set called A Big Thank You, and it's carried over. And I love this friends are flowers in the garden of life, and with the sentiments, I mean with the detail of the flowers, I just thought that was a perfect addition to that. So what I did is I took and I used another one of the smallest dies in the stitched nested labels. And the reason why I used that small one is I went a little bit bigger and it just looked cumbersome. And I just thought, dang, I'm just going to use that same small one and see if it looks, you know, like that it's would be kind of too small for it. And you know, just didn't look right. So I just said, no, I actually like that on there. So then I just went ahead and stuck dimensionals on there, and look at that. I'm like right to the end of my dimensionals. So we're just gonna pop that right across there and get a little there, and just, you know, use all those little pieces of those dimensionals up. And then we'll just take off that protective coating off of there, and we're going to put that right down in the lower right hand corner. And then we've carried that whole theme of the nested die, the butterfly, the flowers, and then I did the big butterfly, and I'm just going to put him right there, and we're going to put a big dimensional on him. And oh, I saved one big dimensional, and that's why I was saving it right for this little guy right here. Well, the big guy. I'm going to save him for a second because we're going to stick some faceted dots on here. So what we did, actually I'm not, because in case I decide to change this, if I start doodling on there and it doesn't turn out right, I'm not going to take these off of here, but we'll just kind of review what I did on here. Is I just kind of scattered some of those faceted dots because it really did add to the card. I'll show a photo without them and then one with them, and I think that these little scattered faceted dots really added to the front of the card. But you don't necessarily have to put them on the outside. It might be a little overkill, but I really did like them. And even though these ones, like this big one, and well, this one I probably wouldn't put one on, but I'd put one here, 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 a small one here, 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 there, and there. So, and if I didn't want to use two of the purple ones, then I would just go ahead and put my butterfly maybe covering up one where one of them would be. So that's a real easy way to kind of solve that problem. So this is a really, really quick little book that holds the cards, and then you can just hand it to somebody. But what we want to remember is we're focusing on these new in colors, and look how pretty they actually do work together, and they have these coordinating faceted dots. Now we also have the beautiful ribbon that comes in all those different colors too. Look how pretty they are. And I was trying to incorporate those onto the card because the crumb cake color would have looked fine with that, but I just went with the faceted dots. But these colors are going to be beautiful. You're going to be seeing them for the next 2 years. So if you have any questions on this tutorial, please feel free to text me at 724-323-2296. You can email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com, or you can give me a call. I would love to talk with you and chat with you. I love all the great friends that I've met. So just go to the blog post for this card, A Little Lace, and you can see this cute little box that you can make to put a collection of cards in. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.